about bryozoans today?
Yes, we are. Bryozoans are an aquatic invertebrate animal. They are about 5,000 extant species in this phylum. Until the mid-18th century, they were considered plants, so the name bryozoan means moss animals. There are three major groups in this phylum. The first is Phylactolemata, which is freshwater bryozoans with no zooid. The second is Steinolemata, which is a marine bryozoan with a tubular zooid, and there are 5 subgroups, which are Trebostomata, Cystoparata, Cryptostomata, Fenestrata, and Tubuloparata. And the third is Gymnolemata, which is mostly marine bryozoans with a circular or flattened zooid, and there are 2 subgroups, which are Stenostomata and Chylostomata. Now we're going to watch a video on how they live and where they make their living.
Colonies of bryozoans can be found in both salt and freshwater, most commonly as growths or crusts on other objects, seagrass, as well as floating microalgae, mangrove roots, shells, docks, pilings, and other structures provide support for bryozoan colonies. In respect to reproduction, bryozoans have a life cycle that incorporates phases of both sexual and asexual reproduction. Their progeny, called zooid, are produced through an asexual process called budding. The progeny stay together to form a colony which also continues to enlarge. The zooids eventually produce eggs and spermatozoa, and through sexual reproduction, the fusion of gametes generate genetic variability which is necessary for the species as a whole.
Bryozoans mainly feed on microscopic planktonic particles that are captured by the ciliated lophophore tentacles. In order to feed, their ciliated lophophore tentacles spread as a funnel with the mouth at its vertex. The long tentacles beat back and forth, thus drawing water into the top of the funnel. Food particles are then projected towards the mouth, and then the shorter tentacles capture the food particles and move the particles toward the mouth. Digestion of food takes place in the stomach, and indigestible remains are expelled as pellets. Most bryozoans are sessile and immobile, but a few colonies are able to creep about. Bryozoans, sometimes referred to as moss animals, are tiny colonial organisms. Their development does not follow either a true protozoan or true deuterosome pattern. They, along with the phoronioids and brachiopods, are thus classified based on the presence of a specialized feeding structure called a lophophore, an extension of the body wall into a tentacle structure that surrounds the mouth and is either horseshoe-shaped or circular.
The closest relative of Bryozoa in the 16S tree is phylum Porifera. The closest relative of Bryozoa in the matrix tree is phylum Annelida. The two trees differ because they have different outgroups. Bryozoa is placed between Mollusca and Porifera in the 16S tree, but is placed between Annelida and Holothuriidea in our tree. These differences could have been caused by the addition of phylum Holothuriidea in the 16S tree and the different data used to create the trees. The 16S tree used genetic sequencing and our tree used morphological data.
Now that the video is done, Christina, did you do your research on bryozoans and the relationship or values to humans?
Yes, I did. As a pre-med student, I wanted to research an organism that had some adaptations and some morphology that impacted the medical field in some way. So since BIOL an animal in the Bryozoa phylum, has had a hand in cancer treatment, I thought it would be an interesting organism to study. So they can secrete chemicals called biostatins that can fight off cancer. And these biostatins are polykeets that can create macrolides, which are essentially antibiotics. And they can be used in cancer treatments and other medicines because they can alter cellular activity, which can then stop cancer cells from dividing.
Samir, did you do your research on the evolutionary history of bryozoans?
I did do my research on the evolutionary history of bryozoans. Paleontologically speaking, fossils found have shown that it is most likely that bryozoans were soft-bodied and they first appeared during the Ordovician period, which was part of the Paleozoic era. Now, hypothesis about how bryozoans originated. While there isn't a general hypothesis agreed upon for how they originated, a study in 2009 hypothesized that Bryozoa is a monophyletic phylum, and this means that they're descended from a common ancestor that is not shared with any other group. And it is because of this that it is hard to place Bryozoa on a phylogenetic tree of life. There have been many features of Bryozoa that have made it difficult to place on the phylogenetic tree. For example, the phylum Bryozoa contains a mixture of protozomes and deuterozomes, and features from both. There has also been no conclusion on if they are considered a monophyletic group.
The phylogenetic tree from the articles comparing protozomes to deuterozomes, whereas our tree does not take this into consideration. Since we used morphological data to build our tree and the phylogenetic tree from the article used molecular data, this could contribute to the differences in inaccuracies in both phylogenetic trees.